It was nighttime in Paddockhurst. Our little town was super quiet. Inside my cozy house, I was reading a really exciting mystery book. The only sound was the crackling fire. Suddenly, I heard a really loud scream. I jumped up, my heart going thump, thump, thump. A dog howled, and then other dogs started barking all over town. Then, quiet again. I looked out the window, getting more scared every second. Something weird was going on in Paddockhurst. The next day, everyone was talking about the noises from last night. The entire village was abuzz with speculation and fear. People gathered in small groups, whispering and exchanging theories about what could have caused such eerie sounds. It was as if the tranquility of Paddockhurst had been shattered overnight. Mrs. Peabody, who loves to gossip, said she saw a ghost floating across the park. She described it in vivid detail, claiming it was a translucent figure that glided silently through the air. Her eyes widened with excitement as she recounted her experience, drawing a crowd of curious listeners. Old Mr. Thompson, looking super pale, said he heard a scary crying noise from the old graveyard. He swore it was the wail of a tormented spirit, echoing through the night. His hands trembled as he spoke, and his usual calm demeanor was replaced with visible anxiety. Everyone was scared and blaming each other, talking about curses and ghosts. The village square became a hotbed of accusations and fear. Some believed it was the work of a malevolent spirit, while others thought it was a curse brought upon by someone in the village. The air was thick with tension and unease. Our peaceful town was totally freaked out. The once lively streets were now deserted, and an eerie silence hung over Paddockhurst. Shops closed early, and children were kept indoors. The sense of community that once defined our village seemed to be crumbling under the weight of fear. I decided to do something. I couldn't stand to see my home in such disarray. With a determined heart, I set out to uncover the truth behind the mysterious occurrences. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but someone had to take the first step. Someone needed to figure out what was really going on, and who better than me, the most curious person in Paddockhurst. I had always been known for my inquisitive nature, and this was the perfect opportunity to put it to good use. Armed with curiosity and determination, I began my investigation. Mrs. Peabody gave me a rusty old cross, and Mr. Thompson grumbled about not messing with spooky stuff. They were both concerned for my safety, but I assured them I would be careful. The cross felt heavy in my hand, a tangible reminder of the gravity of the situation, but I was determined to find the truth. No matter how frightening the journey might be, I knew I had to see it through. The fate of Paddockhurst depended on it, and I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. I had a flashlight, its beam cutting through the thick darkness of the night. The forest around me was eerily silent, every rustle of leaves making my heart race a little faster. A thermos of strong tea was my only source of warmth, the steam rising from the mug like a comforting ghost in the cold night air. I took a sip, feeling the warmth spread through me, giving me a small boost of courage. I wasn't easily spooked, or at least that's what I told myself. My determination was my shield, and I clung to it as I ventured deeper into the unknown. But I knew I needed more than tea and a flashlight to fight a ghost. I needed to be prepared for anything, and that meant gathering whatever I could find that might help me in my quest. I went to the attic and found some stuff. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten items, each one covered in a thick layer of dust. I rummaged through boxes and old trunks, looking for anything that might be useful. I grabbed a dusty old tennis racket to whack any ghosts that might come my way. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. The racket felt solid in my hand, a makeshift weapon against the unknown, and a colander to wear on my head like a helmet. It was ridiculous, but it made me feel a little safer. I felt ready. My makeshift gear might not have been professional, but it was all I had. I wasn't a real Ghostbuster, but I was ready for anything. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of fear and excitement. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the night ahead. Tonight, Paddockhurst would be safe, even if I was a little scared myself. The village depended on me, and I wouldn't let them down. With my flashlight in one hand and my tennis racket in the other, I stepped into the night, ready to face whatever came my way. Night came, and Paddockhurst was dark and spooky again. The village, usually bustling with life during the day, transformed into a shadowy maze of narrow streets and old buildings. The moonlight cast eerie glows on the cobblestones, and the silence was almost deafening. It felt like the entire village was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. With my gear and lots of tea, I started my ghost hunt. My backpack was filled with all sorts of gadgets, an EMF detector, a digital voice recorder, and even a thermal camera. I had spent weeks preparing for this night, reading up on ghost hunting techniques and watching countless videos. The tea was for comfort, a warm reminder of home in the midst of the chilling adventure. The town was so quiet. Every tiny noise made me jump. The creak of a wooden sign swinging in the breeze, the distant hoot of an owl, even the rustle of leaves underfoot, all seemed amplified in the stillness of the night. My heart raced with every unexpected sound, but I pressed on, determined to uncover the secrets of Paddockhurst. First, I went to the park where Mrs. Peabody saw the ghost. She had described a figure in old-fashioned clothing, drifting silently among the trees. The park, usually a place of laughter and play, now felt like a stage set for a ghostly encounter. The swings moved slightly in the wind, and the shadows seemed to dance around me. The wind blew through the trees, making creepy shadows with my flashlight. The branches swayed, creating an ever-changing pattern of light and dark. It was easy to see how someone could mistake these shadows for something more sinister. I scanned the area, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, but there was no sign of the ghost. I swung my tennis racket, ready for a ghost. It might seem like an odd choice of weapon, but it gave me a sense of security. I had read somewhere that ghosts could be startled by sudden movements, and I was ready to defend myself if needed. The racket felt solid in my hand, a tangible connection to the real world in this surreal situation. But all I found was a little hedgehog who ran away. The tiny creature scurried off into the underbrush, its quills glinting in the flashlight beam. I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Here I was, all geared up for a ghost hunt, and my first encounter was with a harmless hedgehog. It was a reminder that not everything in the night was out to get me. I kept going, my flashlight shining in the dark, towards the old graveyard. The path was narrow and overgrown, the trees closing in on either side. The graveyard was said to be the most haunted place in Paddockhurst, and I could feel the weight of its history pressing down on me. Each step brought me closer to the unknown. I took a deep breath, opened the squeaky gate, and went in, ready for a ghost fight. The gate's hinges groaned in protest, echoing through the still night. Inside, the gravestones stood like silent sentinels, their inscriptions worn by time. I felt a chill run down my spine as I stepped deeper into the graveyard, my senses on high alert for any sign of the supernatural. The graveyard was quiet and still, with just the moon shining. The wind made a spooky whooshing sound. Suddenly, I heard that scream again, and something big crashed through the bushes. My heart was pounding. I held my tennis racket tight and walked towards the noise, shining my flashlight. Behind a big tombstone, I saw what was making all the noise. It was so silly I started laughing. It wasn't a ghost. It was a chubby badger with its head stuck in a metal bucket. I was so relieved, and then I felt silly. The screams, the ghost, the noises, it was all just a badger in a bucket. I helped the badger get its head out of the bucket. It was scared at first, but then it let me help. It grunted and ran away. Everyone in town heard about the badger. They were so relieved and thought it was funny. Mrs. Peabody admitted that the ghost was just a laundry basket blowing in the wind. Everyone calmed down. The next morning, I drank my tea, feeling proud. The scary night turned into a funny story. The great Paddockhurst ghost hunt taught me something. Being scared is sometimes worse than the real thing. We make things scarier in our heads. Now, whenever I feel scared, I remember the badger and the bucket. It reminds me that sometimes the best way to not be scared is to laugh. Even when things are unknown, there's always something to laugh about.